In the world of aviation, thousands of planes take off every single day. Some never return, vanishing into storms, oceans, or simply into mystery. But imagine this. What if a plane disappeared? Not for hours, not for days, but for decades. And then suddenly came back as if nothing had ever happened? This is the chilling legend of Pan Am Flight 9 Morv Tour. According to the story, on a bright morning in July 1955, a commercial flight carrying 57 passengers and 4 crew members took off from New York. It was supposed to be a routine journey to Miami, just a few short hours in the air. Families were waiting at the airport, people had plans, dreams, and destinations. Nothing seemed unusual, until the plane simply vanished. Air traffic controllers lost contact. No distress signals were heard. The skies were clear, no storms, no reports of hijacking. One moment the plane was there, the next, it had disappeared without a trace. For the families, it was a tragedy. For investigators, it was a nightmare. And for the world, it became an unsolved mystery that would remain silent. Until 37 years later. In the hours following the disappearance of Pan Am Flight 914, chaos erupted in the control tower. Pilots in nearby skies were contacted. Rescue helicopters were scrambled. And the Coast Guard was alerted. But there was nothing. No wreckage, no oil spill, no floating debris. It was as if the plane had been swallowed by the sky itself. For days, the search continued. Hundreds of miles of coastline were scanned. Every possible crash site was checked. Families gathered in grief, clinging to the hope that maybe, just maybe, their loved ones had survived somewhere, somehow. But weeks passed and still, nothing. The airline eventually declared all 61 people on board presumed dead. Newspapers reported it as one of aviation's strangest tragedies. But deep inside, investigators were troubled. Planes don't just vanish. Not without a storm. Not without a single distress call. The official files were closed, but whispers of conspiracy began to spread. Some said it was alien abduction. Others claimed it was a secret government experiment. And then for 37 years, the world forgot about Pan Am Flight 914 until one ordinary day, it returned. On a clear summer morning in 1992, at Caracas Airport in Venezuela, air traffic controllers were monitoring routine flights. Suddenly, a radar blip appeared out of nowhere. At first, they thought it was just a system glitch. But then, a voice crackled through the radio. "This is Pan Am Flight 914. From New York to Miami. We are scheduled to land. Please confirm runway." The controllers froze. Pan Am Flight J&Th? That flight number had been closed for decades. Cautiously, the tower replied, "Confirm again. What is your flight?" The pilot repeated, "Clear and steady. Pan Am 9014, 61 passengers on board. Requesting permission to land." Moments later, the plane itself appeared through the clouds. An old, 1950s model jetliner, completely intact, shining in the sunlight. To the staff on duty, it was like a ghost had returned. The logos, the paint, even the uniforms of the flight crew were frozen in time, exactly as they had been in 1955. Passengers were seen looking out of the windows, confused, pointing at the modern airport below them, an airport that had changed completely over the decades. The impossible had happened. A plane that vanished in 1955 had returned in 1992. The ground shook as the mysterious Pan Am Flight 914 touched down in Caracas. The control tower scrambled, emergency vehicles to surround the aircraft. Fire trucks, ambulances, and police cars all rushing onto the runway. Nobody knew what was really happening. When the plane finally stopped, the crew looked out in disbelief. For the pilot and passengers, it was still the year 1955. But outside, the ground staff were in modern uniforms, holding digital radios, surrounded by vehicles that didn't even exist when they departed New York. Authorities quickly moved in. They expected frightened passengers. But what they saw was beyond strange. The passengers were calm, dressed in 1950s clothes, clutching old leather suitcases, and looking confused as if they had only been flying for a few hours. Children peeked through the windows, holding toys from another era. An old lady nervously asked a flight attendant, "Why are there strange cars outside? Where are we?" The flight manifest was checked. Everything matched the original Pan Am 914 list from 1955, 61 souls, not one missing. The shocking truth spread among airport staff. This was the plane that had vanished 37 years ago. But just as authorities prepared to open the doors and escort the passengers, something terrifying happened. The airport crew approached the massive Pan Am plane with caution. Everyone was ready: security forces, medical teams, and investigators. The air was heavy, as if history itself was about to reveal a secret hidden for decades. Slowly, a set of mobile stairs was rolled toward the aircraft. The crowd of officials held their breath as one officer climbed up, ready to open the cabin door. Inside, the passengers watched in confusion. Some even waved, thinking their ordeal was finally over. But then it happened. Just as the officer reached for the door handle, a blinding white light surrounded the entire plane. Radios crackled with static. Engines roared without warning. And before anyone could react, the aircraft's propellers spun to life. In disbelief, the pilot leaned out of the cockpit window and shouted, "We must go back. We must return to 1955. His voice echoed across the runway like a ghost from another time. Ground crews tried to block the aircraft with vehicles, but it was too late. The giant plane accelerated down the runway at full speed. Within seconds, it lifted into the sky, fading into the clouds. And then it vanished. Completely gone. Caracas Airport was left in stunned silence. A plane that had disappeared in 1955 had appeared in 1992, only to vanish again before anyone could record its truth. After the shocking disappearance, the Venezuelan authorities launched one of the strangest investigations in aviation history. Radar towers were scanned. Every airbase in the region was contacted. But there was nothing. Flight 914 was gone. Just like in 1955, witnesses swore they saw the passengers through the windows. Airport staff confirmed the pilot's desperate shout about returning to 1955. Yet, when investigators searched for physical evidence, there was none. Not a single trace of the giant Douglas DC-4 remained on the runway. Theories began to spread like wildfire. Some scientists suggested a time slip, claiming the aircraft had flown through a rift in space-time, reappearing decades later. Conspiracy theorists insisted it was a government cover-up, saying the CIA or Soviet Union might have been involved. Others went further, whispering that the passengers were trapped in a parallel dimension, forever circling the skies of another reality. But perhaps the most chilling theory came from the families of the missing passengers. They believed their loved ones were still alive, stuck in 1955, completely unaware that the world around them had moved on nearly 40 years into the future. Until today, not a single piece of wreckage or credible proof has ever been found. Flight 914 remains one of the most mysterious aviation stories ever told. To this day, the mystery of Flight 914 has never been solved. Was it a legend? A government secret? Or did hundreds of passengers really step off a plane, only to vanish back into time? No black box. No wreckage. No passenger records ever resurfaced. Just stories. Stories whispered by air traffic controllers, ground staff, and terrified witnesses who swore they saw the impossible with their own eyes. Some believe the passengers are still flying, trapped forever in a loop between 1955 and 1992. Others say the story was nothing more than a myth, designed to scare or entertain. But here's the chilling truth. In aviation history, we know of dozens of aircraft that disappeared without a trace. Some were later found. Some were never seen again. Flight 914 belongs to that dark list. And maybe, just maybe, the reason we don't have the answers is because the truth is far more terrifying than the myth itself. So the next time you hear the roar of a plane above you, ask yourself, what if one of them isn't from our time?